Hello and welcome to today's Cosmic Wisdom video. It's a new moon in Sagittarius, and I'm very excited to be here, to be back, because I aim to do these videos every 2 weeks, every new moon and every full moon, but I didn't do one the last full moon. So that felt like a long hiatus for me, even though it was just a month. But the previous full moon was in Gemini, and I have some really intense energies in Gemini. I have my Chiron placement in Gemini, and Chiron in the chart we call the wounded healer. It's the deep subconscious wound. Everyone has it somewhere. If you were born in 86 and other years, no, probably that's the only generation with Chiron and Gemini that I can think of. You probably also had a really difficult last couple of weeks. If you have intense energy, Gemini energy in your chart in any way, which way, shape, or form, it might have been a difficult 2-week cycle for you. Even just being human and being on Earth, the Gemini full moon is, in my opinion, the toughest of the year because it's when we're confronted with the human condition. Interestingly, right now it's 2 p.m. The moon actually turns new at around 5:30 p.m. This is Mountain Time, or no, Pacific Time. Sorry, I'm in BC. And I typically like to wait until the moon goes new to do these cosmic wisdom circles, because when we record or when we tune into the moon cycle before that exact moment that it turns new, we're actually still in the old full moon cycle. And you can tell by how I'm starting this transmission that I'm going to that Gemini full moon. It's because really we're in the very, very last stage of the Gemini full moon right now. It's 2 o'clock. We have a couple more hours and then the moon will shift and it will come into a new cycle, which is the new moon. So it's mostly all going to be a new moon video, but as with the energy and when I decided to do this video, it feels important and relevant to talk about the last 2 weeks that we've had in Gemini and why that Gemini full moon is so hard on us. So let's start by just looking at where we are in the lunar year. I always like to kind of pull this up and take a look at, get like really attuned to the seasons and understand where we are. So the lunar year starts in March with the spring equinox. So the first new moon of spring is the beginning of the lunar year. And so we have these different cycles, right? We've got basically 4 quadrants or seasons in the year: spring, summer, fall, and winter. And I've put here a kind of theme of what that quadrant feels like for us. So spring is a time of emergence. It's when that little leaf bursts out of its seed shell and bursts out of the ground. It's a time of a big burst of energy. Summer is about growth. It's the long season of nourishing and mineralizing and resting, growing, resting, growing. It's finding that balance between that full solar maximum energy and giving yourself the time and the nourishment to, come to a full potential. You can think about that little seedling that broke through in the spring. Where that's a big burst of energy. The summer month is more about growth. It's more about the long-term outcome towards ultimately the harvest. So in fall, we're really starting to take stock of what has burst forth, spring, and what has grown within us. In the fall, we start to take stock of that for the year. So we see what's our harvest, what's our gift, what did we learn, what did we grow, what do we have that we want to keep, what do we have that isn't worth saving, what do we have that we want to perhaps preserve but needs to be transmuted or alchemized into something new. That's what the fall is all about. And what we have now is entering into the final quadrant of the lunar year, which is rest season. So this looks like, okay, harvest time is well over. Everything's frozen up now. We're going underground, just like those tulip or garlic bulbs that you leave in the ground all winter to just kind of freeze and, um, you know, I don't know. What do they do? They're just existing. They're just there. It's an important part of the cycle that allows for that burst of energy to come in the spring. This is why it's so important for us to get tuned up with the sun and the moon, the cycles of the sun and the moon. Ultimately, we're just becoming great transcendentalists. We're learning to attune ourselves with nature, which is so important when we live in a modern society with lights and technology and stimulation and, constant distraction and things that take us away from nature. We study the cycles of the moon and the sun to really just get us back to the core of like, okay, how should my energy be focused right now? And then once we attune that to our own personal birth chart cycle, then we understand exactly what area of our life is most being affected right now, right? So here we have at this time, we're right here today. So the new moon, December 19th in Sagittarius is happening, and we just had the full moon in Gemini, which was a 2-week cycle, and basically at 5:30 p.m. PST today, we will be in that new moon energy. So we're really starting the rest cycle of the year, which lasts for the next 3 months, and especially during this descend, which I've talked a lot about, towards winter solstice, right? Which is where the sun kind of goes quiet for 3 days. And we get a solar minimum, which is really like the solar minimum in the sky directly reflects what's happening within, which is the, how do I put this? It's like the integral inner slowdown or inner peace, inner quiet that we'll experience within for the entire year, right? So this kind of brings me into talking about the energies at hand today, right? So let's kind of attune to what's actually going on in the sky. So we have a new moon, which is when the sun and the moon are at the same spot in the sky, which we call conjunct in the sky. And during a new moon, really, we're mostly attuning to the sun because the moon doesn't have its own light. The moon is an illuminary of the sun. And when the sun and moon are conjunct, the moon is completely dark. So it is also the darkest moon of the year, new moon of the year. All new moons are dark, but because the sun also is at its solar minimum, we have the least light. When we have the least light, we have basically the least outer stimulation, the least going on in the world, and we're really called inward into that inner light, that inner illumination, right? So we've got a new moon with the sun and the moon conjunct. We're attuning to the sun, which is in Sag, which is a fire sign, right? So even though we're at this very dark solar minimum, the sun is at this very activating fire energy. So what we also have going on today is the Galactic Center, okay? So the Galactic Center is a point in the sky, and it exists around 27 to 28 degrees Sagittarius. And basically, it's the very center of our Milky Way galaxy, our solar system. It's at the center of our solar system is a black hole, and that is the Galactic Center. Every black hole is a portal. So we picture a black hole as things just going in, right? Being sucked in, which, by the way, our solar system is getting sucked into the black hole, into the galactic center. We're slowly spiraling towards the galactic center, which is a black hole, but every black hole is a portal. So there's an exit point on the other side of the galactic center, which is the journey to the expanse of the greater universe, right? So basically we have our solar system, which obviously our sun is the central sun of our solar system, and we've got all of our little planets. And just like you've traveled to India but you live in Vancouver, your solar system, Vancouver, is your home. It has your place, your neighborhood where you grew up and where that feels like home to you. But you've also been out so far away, right, to a completely different continent. And similarly, like there's a greater expanse of a universe with other realms and other worlds and all unimaginable energies and experiences and beings and whatnot. But all that we're kind of privy to within the confines of, the information that we have access to really exists within the box of our solar system, right? So we're not taught about galactic lives, galactic realms, our multidimensionality. We aren't really, we're taught about the solar system and the local universe of where we inhabit, but we don't have a consciousness like learned into us that teaches about what is beyond the galactic center, right? So what's really important, especially if you're listening to this and you're getting this kind of download for the first time, it's like expanding your consciousness, right? Because you're bringing in this information and now you have an idea of like, oh, right, it's like the expanse of our solar system and then this galactic center, which is a portal to the wider universe where there's so much more happening. And there's a central sun beyond just our sun, and there's a great central sun, and there's source itself. It starts to expand our consciousness. And simultaneous to our expansiousness expanding, our multidimensional selves start to be able to be seen and known. When someone is just living from the very smallness of their life on Earth, right? They're not really multidimensional at all. They're just looking at what's right in front of them. And the more that we expand, and that's what's so beautiful about astrology, the more that we expand and we start to think about the planets and the sentience of the planets and channeling how the planets work through us and work with us, and what that planet's vibration feels like, and that planet's vibration lives in me. We start to attune to wider and wider realms and frequencies, and that allows our own wider and wider expanse and frequency to become available to us. All of this is important because we're right now in a grand alignment with the galactic center. Okay. So we have the galactic center, which is the center of our solar system. And we also have the sun and the moon exactly conjunct that galactic center. Okay. So these are all lined up in the sky today. Now, that in itself is profound. It happens every time at this year, and it is an activation, an initiation, and an expanded kind of awareness of our multidimensional selves. So we have this interesting juxtaposition at this time of year between it being the winter solstice, the solar minimum, and those darkest, most internal days of the year, right? And we have all of this fiery galactic center, multi-dimensional, really like going galactic energy coming in at the same time, because in this alignment is basically a portal that opens that allows all of this galactic energy to stream in. So we're being highly activated with this fiery Sagittarius galactic center energy, but we're also being called to go deep within at the same time. And that's really, really important. Why? Because you can't, like being busy, being anxious, being stressed, being in drama, being in spending a lot of money for the holidays and fear of being broke next year, stressing out about family situations and having to see people and all of these things, like that is really a block that keeps us very much centered on our small life and our small surroundings. It's not that when we're not expansive and open and thinking about these things that, like, it's not like that's what's necessary in order to align with the galactic center and these energies. It's that the anxiety, the fear, the shame, the anger, the, repression, all of these intense feelings that come up at this time, they don't, I'm not going to say they block you, because we receive these energies regardless, but the magic, the message, the nuance, the awareness that's available to us at this time, it's just completely like it goes to the wayside. It's not there because we're so busy with external things. And this is exactly why the holiday season has been like capitalized and made so busy, right? Like if we look back to um fall equinox, when we're really in this like kind of slowing down time from fall equinox all the way until the end of February when we come into spring. That this is exactly when Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's happens, right? So as we are actually supposed to be slowing down, these holidays have come in to amp us up and make us busier and busier. And especially around Christmas, especially with the capitalism and the spending, and there's nothing that gets us into fear and has us going right back onto the hamster wheel the next year, like spending a lot of money and being in fear for survival and feeling like, hey, I felt into the generosity and the spirit of the season, and I bought things and I spent money and I did trips and I did this and that, but now I'm paying for it and I have to pay for it, and you go right back into the cycle the next year, right? So we have to kind of at a certain point break out of a few of these patterns and see there is a system at hand that ushers us into this patterning in order to keep us out of an organic cycle of really getting quiet and inward and slowing down, so that when this alignment with the galactic center happens, we can, I always say, like, none of us need to do anything special to receive the energies, right? So if it's coming in, you're being affected by it, it's coming in. But when you get so quiet, then it's like, hey, how is this moving and transforming within me, and what is the nectar, what is the message there? That's the important part of it. Okay. So, what is the message? Let's go there next. Actually, before I go to that, I just want to comment on this inner balance between Gemini, the full moon that we just had, and Sagittarius. Okay. So on a typical astrological wheel, We've got 12 houses, right? So we always start here with house 1 and go around the wheel. And each sign lives in a house here. So when we're talking about Sagittarius, the fire sign, it lives up here in the 9th house. And then Gemini, the air sign, lives down here in the 3rd house. And so at this time of year, we have the sun in the sky actually moving through the constellation of Sagittarius. That's what makes it Sagittarius season. And then we have the moon in the sky moving through the constellation of Gemini. That's what makes it a full moon in Gemini, when the moon is opposite the sun. So we had the full moon and the new moon, or Sagittarius season. Now, there's also a hidden sign in here called Ophiuchus. And Ophiuchus is the serpent bearer. And the sun has moved through Ophiuchus season. And this is really important because what we have before Ophiuchus season is Scorpio, right? And Scorpio represents death, the cycle of death and transformation. So in every cycle, lunar cycle, solar cycle, and cycle of our own lives, we go on this journey from birth, or from a new solar cycle or a new lunar cycle, all the way through all of this. And by the time we get to the 8th house, or Scorpio season, it's time for everything that's accumulated up to that point to die and be alchemized or reborn into something new. So this exactly mimics this cycle of the lunar year, right? So in September, we see, okay, what is my harvest? What have I got? I've got this beautiful cornucopia of food and vegetables and, sustenance and life force. Winter is coming. How do I take advantage of it now and celebrate and reap and harvest, share the bounty, right? And then in October, in Scorpio season, we decide what stays and what goes. Part of that, how we did things, how we planted our crops, how we, maybe we tried a new fertilizer, or we planted a eastern crop in a southeastern direction and it didn't really work out because of the way the water was flowing down the water table. I don't know. Right? Like, it didn't work out. So we want to discard that pattern. We don't want to bring that forward into next year. Maybe we planted way too many potatoes and we've got a ton. So what can we do to preserve those so that they don't go bad over the winter? Or maybe we have enough to give away to our children so that they can have a potato crop for the next 10 years, right? Like, it's where we look at what's working and what's not working. There might even be a time when you decide, I want to go all organic, and it's time to not plant anything at all for the next couple of years to let the soil replenish so that I can grow organically. And everything I've grown is so depleted up to this point, I'm getting barely any harvest and I need to scrap it all, right? We all go through those massive sheddings in our lives. So Scorpio season that comes in the middle of harvest is really the time when we have to make decisions, what patterns serve us and what don't. And in our life, what this looks like is like the behavioral patterns, right? Like relationships, how you are in relationship, how you're showing up. Are there old patterns that aren't serving you, that are survival based, where you're stuck, where you're not moving in a healthy direction? You get the point, right? So we look within and we see, okay, as within, so without. These things in my life aren't serving me anymore. I'm ready to discard them. What inside of me also is going to change in order to allow that release? Or as within, what inside of me needs to change because I'm ready to shift, and I know that change within comes first. That's Scorpio season. So if you're really harmoniously going through this cycle, when we get to that 8th house, the Scorpio season, you understand that it's not just death, it's death and transformation. And that's really the magic of this 13th sign of Ophiuchus that's hidden for us. And it's hidden from us, and it's hidden for a reason. It's not that we just forgot about it. It was actually erased from history. And if you want to go down the rabbit hole, there's a documentary called Code 12. Let me just quickly Google that because I'm pretty sure that's what yeah. It's called Code 12. The movie, it's www.code12themovie.com. And it's a great documentary where someone basically goes out like a detective kind of into all of these ancient cultures and pieces together how there was always a 13th archetype. There was always a 13th stage to the zodiac, but it got deliberately erased over time. Why? Because when that 13th sign, which aligns with the galactic center, right? So the galactic center takes up this portion of the sky. And every year, as the sun moves through this portion of the sky, we are like that solar consciousness within all of us is starting to expand to feel into our own multidimensionality, what we are and who we are beyond just being this human with our boots on the ground on the earth. And that's where we get the opposing sign. And this is why the Gemini full moon can be so hard, because at this time, we're really, the moon is over here illuminating the shadow of the opposite of the sun, which is being human. It's all of the hard parts of living on earth. It's like, during Gemini full moon, it can be like, this is too hard. I give up. I don't want to live here anymore. I get that it's a game and this level is too hard for me. I don't want to play it anymore. It can even look like, especially if you have something like your Chiron or Saturn or, even your own personal moon in Gemini, it can look like this is too hard. Like, I don't want to play this game of being human anymore. I give up. I'm done. It's too dense down here. It's too heavy, right? This is like the underground, the density, the very 3D human experience. And up here, the galactic center is, the expansiveness to our multidimensionality and beyond when the sun is coming. So we get this polarization between like, I know that more is here, more is there, and I just don't even want to be here anymore. So that Gemini full moon can be a really tough one for the human condition. But again, back to this 13th sign, right? Like there's this really important part of the zodiac wheel where we go through this calibration period of what no longer wants to say. I grew, I changed, I nourished, I struggled, I fought, I evolved so much this year. And here's the parts of me that I don't want to repeat next year, death. So when we willingly go through these yearly cycles, these, different 10-year, 15-year, 25-year, 38-year cycles, we're willingly going through this constant death, constant ego death, constant shedding, so that we can spiral up into the next octave of growth. And by the time we get to this next quadrant, Capricorn season, which is just around the corner in a couple days, we come into mastery, and we've made it through the spiral. We've let go. We've made it through the spirit death, and we've come into now mastery of these different elements, right? And as we come into Sagittarius season, we get to attune to that galactic center and really feel into how we, in particular, bear light, right? Ophiuchus is the light bearer. The light bearer. It's your personal and unique mastery, where your multidimensionality, where the galactic center and that multidimensional energy is constantly streaming in, down, and through you. we get to feel into that part. And that is the part as we go through this very difficult death and letting go. And then that's that equally difficult Gemini full moon where you're feeling all of the little parts of the human being that like is holding on and being stubborn and arguing and fighting and nitpicking and, you know, just like so lost in the human condition that you're not even aware of where you're going wrong. It's just pure reaction, right? That's that Gemini full moon energy. While we're going through that process, this 13th sky, the sun moves into Ophiuchus season, into the portal that ushers us into our next higher octave, to the top of the chart, to Sagittarius, bringing in our mastery, right? And then moving into anchoring that mastery in the world, where there's a spark inside. There's this permanent little spark of light, even at the deepest, darkest moments of the energies preceding it, that allow you to keep going, that help you make the climb. There's that light bearer energy where there's the higher self inside holding the candle saying, no, you will persevere. You can, you do have faith. You do have the grit and the, you know, soul ambition. And we're going to keep going, even though this is really, 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 really hard. Whew. I really felt that as I was saying it. So I'm sure you guys too are like, yeah, that is what it's like here. So the good news is, in a couple of hours, an hour now, because I've already been talking a lot, the energy is shifting in out of that Gemini into the Sagittarius, into the new moon, the Galactic Center. And the other thing that's happening, like, but wait, there's more. Did I erase? Oh man. Did I really erase that? Okay, no worries. So I mentioned that we have the Galactic Center, right? Is conjunct. Actually, maybe I'll do it right here on the actual zodiac chart of the day. So right here, we have the sun and moon. See how they're at the exact same points, 28 degrees of Sagittarius. So that's where this new moon is, 28 degrees. So that's the conjunction. And it's conjunct also the Galactic Center, as I mentioned. And the other thing that's happening today is this comet, which is 3I Atlas, is also the closest to Earth today. So it's passing by this conjunction, and it's at its closest point to Earth. So isn't that interesting that not only is, right, like, because this comet is on a really kind of unpredictable path. It's not behaving like other comets on kind of like a predictable orbit. And it's not only at its closest point to Earth today, but it's also exactly conjunct this new moon, which is conjunct the Galactic Center. So if we know that when the sun is conjunct the Galactic Center, it's like opening the crown chakra of our galaxy to receive codes directly from the universe, the sun, beyond our local solar system. And then we have this sentient comet body passing by that exact spot, also sending physical light codes and energy, as well as an energetic frequency. So we really are being bombarded with a lot of energy today. Sagittarius is a fire sign, while also being at this solar minimum. So the very first thing that I'll give as like a tip for these next couple days is even if you feel like if you're getting quiet and you're feeling those inner stirrings of like, I know for me, for sure, the inspiration, the getting closer to the knowing of how I want my next year to look and the changes that I maybe got rid of a lot of behaviors and shifted a lot out. I've been releasing a lot, but you don't know, it's not like the new stuff comes in right away. Like you're often in this void or this period of just kind of waiting and watching and lingering before taking action or grounding in what's coming in new to replace it. And it's actually really important to have that in between where you are allowing space to be in the void. That further helps us decondition the parts of us that work out of, like fear, obligation, or scarcity. But it also allows, like divine timing and the universe and our own harmonic cycles to drop in like a sweet ease, right? So there's this threshold, but today, because all of this data and information and codes and like this inspiring expansive energy is coming in, and it's a fire sign, you might mistake that for the need to take action, especially if you have a tendency to work from an action oriented, fiery, or like hasty place. So just watch that. I always use the analogy of like when your computer needs to update its operating system, it does so at night when the computer is shut down or when you're not using it. It can't update its operating system, which is basically like downloading new data into the hard drive of the computer, while you're using the computer and you're running a whole bunch of programs on it. So I always use this analogy because it is exactly how our systems work. We can't, like I was explaining at the very beginning, bringing in these codes and really attuning to them and embodying them, making them accessible when they come into the body, in the system that we use to intuit and to know and to just activate. We can't do that if we're running programming or being hasty or jumping into the energy of action. So that's why it's really important first to attune to the winter solstice energies. We're in the slowdown, right? So winter solstice is technically, I think, the 21st. So 19, 20, 21st, 22, 23 is that window of like slowing down, shutting off, akin to shutting down your computer and knowing that these upgrades are coming in. At the same time, because it's Sagittarius and it's a new moon, you want to have your journal out, be recording these inspirations or these ideas. Let it be a fun exercise in journaling or prompting or capturing the knowing that's coming in. And you can write down anything. You can dream about anything. You could, put anything up on your dream board or the potentials, because you're just opening doors. You're not walking through them. So this is a way to really capture and be deep within and be grounding the inspiration that is so lofty and available to us right now, but also at the same time, not like hesitate to act on it, because we're really coming into winter solstice, the slowest time of year and the rest period, where again, for this cycle, December, January, and February, when we're in the rest cycle, we really it's when that bulb is planted underground, right? So yes, today on the new moon, we're going to be getting a lot of like info, downloading codes, inspiration, expansiveness, activations, and know that you have the next 3 months to let that like percolate inside of you. It doesn't go anywhere once it's in. It's not like if you don't write it down and capture it and act on it, you're going to miss out. No, if anything, it's that bulb is underground. It's quiet and it's not requiring external energy. So that's the perfect time to be creative, to be in the void, in the empty space, and say, okay, how does this that's come in want to naturally, organically, and creatively unravel within, and just watch and enjoy that process of trust and surrender over the winter, of knowing it's all going to work out great for you. You just have to wait and watch and listen and rest. Okay. Wow. Okay, so let's look at what else is going on in the sky. First, but not least, I don't think that's the same, but I'm going to stick with it. Just as a reminder here, if you're wanting to go into your own chart and see where this is hitting your own personal chart, you would want to look up 28 degrees. So you do that basically by generating a transit chart and putting the exact time of this new moon into the transit chart. So then what you have is basically something that looks like this. So this is a program called Astro Gold, which if you're doing this often, it's a one-time payment. It's under $100. Like when I got it years ago, it was 50, but it might have gone up a little bit. But there's also Astro Seek or Astro Cafe, like astro.com, lots of websites you can go to generate a transit chart. So I have in my birth information here. And then when you go to transits, so you put in the transits, and then you can see where exactly this full moon is happening for you. So you can see here it's happening in my 10th house, and I can see other planets that are at play with me for this full moon. And then what you do is you're going to want to look at the meaning of each of the houses or areas. So for me, the new moon was here in the 10th house, and that house has everything to do with career, long-term goals, structure, status, reputation. I'll get into what it means in all of the houses, but basically it's my midheaven. It's the top of my chart. It's my career. It's my expression. It's why I'm really excited to be here back doing, and I have the energy to do a, wow, I think it just froze in a very excited pose. Maybe that will be my screenshot for the thumbnail. Okay. Yeah, like I said, so it's up here out public facing in the world, whereas the last full moon for me was down here at most midnight part of the chart, and I didn't even do a video because I was just like, it's too hard. It's too far away to be all the way up here. And I listened to that, right? Like, yes, it's important for me to have the consistency and the dedication to doing these every 2 weeks. And it's more important to me to be working in harmony with my inner flow. And sometimes that looks like when there's a really intense, deep full moon that personally affects me, I choose me over obligation. And that's one way that being tuned in with the cycles can really help you, right? So pause maybe and take a look at where this full moon, this new moon, and this beautiful conjunction is happening in your chart, and then you'll be able to attune to it even more. So the first thing that I want to bring up is that, yes, we are in Sagittarius season, Sagittarius sun season. Sag is a fire sign, and it's masculine, okay? Sagittarius is the archer. He's got the quiver of arrows, and he's got his like bow and arrow set towards the sky. This is the season after we've come out of that Scorpio season, right, of death and transformation. So you should have went through the difficult process of like releasing and letting go. We've come into a Fucus season, which is that inner light, that inner mastery, that thing that when it gets very dark and hard to go go on sparks and ignites inside of us. It could be someone else pointing that out in you. It could be you finding that at your own rock bottom or dark night of the soul, or it could be literally, a divine intervention coming in and saying like, no, you got this. You're here. That's not your path to go into that dark spiral. So we moved through Ophiuchus season and we've seen where we bear light in the darkness for ourselves. And remember, that's also where you bear light for others. And then we come into Sagittarius. So we've breached over that difficult journey. And now what happens is in releasing old patterns and old things that no longer serve, we become filled with light plasma, and plasma equals potential. So every time we release, plasma comes in, because plasma is the stuff of the ether. It's the in-between. Wherever there isn't matter, there's plasma, and plasma is the conduit. It's the messenger. It's the space that allows all things to be made into potential. So at this point in the year, we're filled with empty space of pure potential, light-filled potential. And in Sagittarius season, we start to grab our arrows and shoot them towards those expansive things that bring us into our next cycle of growth. And isn't it so beautiful that we come into Sagittarius season right when we also come into the most quiet part of the year, where we're in rest period, right? So there's something really beautiful about the fact that, like, even though Sagittarius is this like fiery movement towards bringing in new mastery, and that might involve traveling, that might involve taking a class about foreign languages because you want to go to Spain and do a pilgrimage. That might involve going back to school or taking a course, or like anything that's big and expansive and brings in new knowledge, new wisdom, new mastery that's perfect for you and what your heart has written on it, what's always called to you. We put that energy into that pursuit, and then we go slow with the process of acquiring that mastery, to bring in that new knowledge, to have those expansive experiences, and then ground them into the body, right? So in Sagittarius season, we're starting to get inspired now, and we're at the very end of Sagittarius season as we come into this new moon. So what that means is you will have already, in the almost month before this new moon, have been, as opposed to what's available to us now going forward, bringing in new mastery and attuning to like what really is aligned for me. And these cosmic messengers, the 3-eye atlas and the alignment with the Galactic Center, certainly helps to bring in that information. What you've discarded for the last month before is old paradigms, old dogma, old belief systems. You might have had some rigidity, or some I have to do things this way, or doing things with a certain structure that wasn't aligned anymore, because Sagittarius is like very duty and responsibility oriented, right? So this new moon is coming along at the very end of the cycle, meaning we've already been in the period of shedding old thoughts and belief systems. So moving forward, we have this quick download, but very potent download of Sag new moon energy because of the alignments that are happening. And then we'll move into Capricorn energy right away. So interestingly, on the kind of flanking this new moon conjunction is on one side Mercury and Venus, and on the other side Mars. So Mercury and Venus are in Sagittarius, just giving extra oomph, extra importance to that Sag energy of like attuning to your knowing where your mastery is, knowing where you show up and you know what you know, and then feeling into what isn't, right? There's this square. See how there's a square happening between the nodes and Mercury. And so you might be in a position where you've been speaking your truth and it's coming off as too direct, or you're speaking to things, or you're feeling into, or your mind is still structured around things that come from fear paradigms, control, cataclysmic thinking, and you're being guided or pulled towards the North Node, which is like to release and surrender and allow a little bit of divine control into your life and release a little bit of that human grasping control. So the way that we talk and communicate, and the structure of our mind with this Mercury square, is helping us attune to this new moon in a new way. So you're coming into the new moon in these new higher thought systems in a way that's more surrendered, more open, willing to let go of the old ways and to attune to the mastery, in the sense that it's surrendered and it's flowing and it's loving and it's multidimensional. It's of a more expansive frequency that's been available before. Okay. I think I'll move on to talk about something else now, just for the sake of time. This is important. Okay. So we have this really, really, really big, huge movement with Neptune. This is Neptune. It's at the final degree, 29 degrees of Pisces. And it will never be in Pisces again in our lifetime. And the 29 degrees is the final degree. That's really, really important. So Neptune is basically saying, like, and the fact that Neptune and Saturn are together here, because Saturn is like responsibility and obligation and duty. And Saturn's always going to make sure that you're really like holding these values, holding yourself accountable to these values when it comes to Pisces, right? So there's this Sagittarius mutable fire energy of like inspiration and codes coming in and like being lit up and feeling like, okay, I'm ready. I know but there's these two mature outer planets, kind of like elders, saying, go slow with it. You don't know what you don't know yet. Don't act on that. Like, make sure you're sure. Don't be too quick to build your structures up. We're coming out of a time of structure. We're moving beyond, right? Like Pluto has moved into Aquarius, out of Capricorn structure and like a certain way of doing things. We're moving into new territory now where we're learning to flow in the moment. We're learning to trust the knowing, to open to our multidimensional senses. And these planets are saying, you can't move forward. Don't move forward on this without the right amount of connection to the divine, to the knowing, to the surrender, to the reality, the true reality of this earth and this life, which is that it has a harmonic flow, and you are being asked not to move out of harmony at this time, right? So we're really, it's like the bumper lanes are up on the bowling alley. We can attune to this Sagittarius galactic center, this high frequency, but these outer planets and the node there are holding us to, like, there has been civilizations and cycles in the past on Earth where humans had access to their multidimensionality, but they didn't have enough of that Piscean divinity, that divine love, that compassion, that really like devotion, aligning your fire Sagittarius action with that cosmic heart, that inner knowing. So it's possible to be a multidimensional human and to be not harmonically oriented. So we're really being held to a very high standard here. And again, I always say it's better to do nothing than to act. So you want to make sure coming into 2026 that you're going slow and you're moving in very aligned ways. If you even wonder at all if something or a decision still has scarcity or fear baked into it, don't don't do it. Wait, continue listening, continue holding out and going slow, right? Because 2026 is the year of the fire horse. We're coming out of the year of the snake, so we did so much shedding. 2025 was a year of inner shifts where we really let go of so much. I mean, it was a hard year. I feel a big burp coming on. It's like releasing. It's not there, but it feels like it is. Um, it was such a hard year. It was the year of inner shift. I was calling 2025 the year of the shift, but it's actually the year of the inner shift, and 2026 is going to be the year of the outer shift. As within, so without. When you go through a massive amount of inner changes, then life, the physical reality around us, starts to reorient and rebuild itself to match the inner reality. So it's fire, it's this galloping ahead energy in 2026, and it's going to take a lot of courage from us to, you know, when you think about courage, courage happens because you're hesitant in a way, right? Like you're not in a state of like courageous action if you're acting and you're always doing the thing and you're jumping into things. That doesn't have the hesitancy that courage requires, because courage is like a bursting out of a state, more of a state of inertia in a way, right? It assumes a little bit of fear because it takes courage to be the energy that pushes you through that. So this is why I'm saying, and this is the energy of Neptune and Saturn at this time, saying like, hesitate to act until you're 100% sure this is 100% heart-led, aligned action. So if it feels like your actions moving forwards, you know, like in the months to come, require courage out of you, that's a really good sign, because your heart is pulling you. 2026 is the year to act and to make those big changes based on who you are, and you're more attuned with your heart and your knowing. And this conjunction with the Galactic Center is going to bring you into, or bring in, so many new potentials, like open us up to way more expansive opportunities because we're becoming more expansive. And then we have to anchor it in our life. And so if 2026, if your actions feel like you need courage to take them, such a good sign, because that means you've waited and you're hesitated. It's even scary to do this. The things that you do out of fear don't take courage. They're easy because they're old pathways that are already a comfort zone, right? So at this time, Neptune and Saturn are kind of reminding you of that. They're giving the same energy. They're saying, remember, we act out of integrity, out of expansiveness, out of alignment now. We don't jump into action, which could be shadowed by previous old fear pathways. Okay, so that's the most that I'm going to talk about for the new moon, the Sag energy. I don't really feel like there's much to do, you know, like there isn't too much to like be aware of. It's more of an energetic download day. It's more of an attunement to this time of year of stillness. It's a reminder to go slow and be patient, and know, like, sit in the excited awareness that like, oh, I'm open, I'm activated, there's a lot happening, like ascension symptoms and are going to be pronounced. If you're extra tired at Christmas, great, lean into it, drink your eggnog and relax, right? Go that route and err towards doing less than kind of activating with this energy and taking action because you feel that there's incoming energy. Um, so let me just tune into a new moon, kind of like, I like ritual or ceremony, but only if it is used symbolically to fortify an embodiment movement or a deep knowing. Those things have to come first. They have to be present. There's no ritual or ceremony that does the work for you, right? That being said, though, I love to ritualize my life and have external reminders and like talismans to focus my intention, because we know focused intention is how we create our reality. But when I feel into a ritual, I like to, it for me, it comes second to the awareness that's already there, and the process of like continuing to be mindful of the 2-week cycle that we're in. So if we're tuning into a new moon ritual for the Sagittarius new moon, let me just go into that. It feels fun and exciting because it is conjunct this Galactic Center in this 3-eye atlas. For sure, just being in the sun is a really beautiful thing to do. You could spend 10 to 30 minutes a day just like soaking up the rays. Um, it's not necessary, but it is a bonus. It's kind of like if you were at the spa getting a massage anyways, and they offer you a complimentary like 10-minute head massage or something. Of course, you want to say yes and go out into the sun and get that extra time. It's like just adding to the potency and really adding to like it feels very like surface level, not in the superficial sense, but like it adds an extra glow. It really lets you, it's kind of akin to sunbathing. It really lets you feel, oh, this is what it is. It's like, it's so much easier to embody something you're working towards if you palpatably feel it in the body, right? Like if you're single and working towards like receiving love, it's great to join a community or go to a retreat or be with an energy worker that can infuse that energy of love and being loved into you. Then you've got it in your body and you can be like, this is what it feels like. And then you can use that as your barometer to go out and, like taste that in the world. So this is being out in the sun during this new moon is akin to sunbathing, where like we know the feeling of the love of the sun. We know the vibration of the sun because when we go out into the sun, it warms you and it just feels like, there's nothing to do except be there. And so there's going to be that kind of feeling going out and being like, there's an upliftment. There's like, oh, it's like I made it through and things are getting better and I can feel the potential here. It's that kind of thing that will come into the body and just give you that extra boost. So I love that as a ritual because it doesn't really require anything woo. It's just literally going out into the sun and taking some deep breaths and being like, yes. And that word, yes, I love too. It, especially for Sagittarius energy or that Jim Carrey movie, Yes Man. It's such a great um, thing to feel into, especially at this time of year where the energy is bringing in higher mastery and expansiveness. And it's like, what is your yes for this new year? What is your yes for this new cycle? What are you getting out in that energy of like potential and plasma and light and sun and going like, oh, I'm saying yes to this life, to these things, to that which is written on my heart that in previous years it just felt impossible to even tune into. And now I'm going to chase it. What's your yes? And just saying yes. Maybe writing down my yes, right? For 2026 as your new moon ritual. What is your yes? I know for me, I really want to dedicate 2026 to being an artist, to using my hands, to being in a completely different energy than I spend a lot of my time up in the ethers doing readings and sessions and energy work and just going through life and looking at the world through my energetic senses. And my goal for 2026 is to really say yes to like tactile, aesthetically pleasing, nourishing, grounding things, because I'm here to expand my framework. And currently my framework is so energetic in its expansiveness, and I want to keep that, but I want to add to it just as much expansiveness in the way that I walk through the world and like, you know, enjoy my physical senses in this physical world. So that's my yes for 2026. And because my new moon is happening here in the 10th house, I would want to attune that to what is my yes as far as it comes to my career, my public offering. So maybe we'll start here and I'll quickly just go through all of the houses and give you a download of what to attune to using this idea. What is your yes? So if my if my new moon is in the 10th house, I'm saying like, this has to do with who I am in the world. Literally what I'm doing right now, my career, my work, my public persona, my expression. And it's Sagittarius new moon, so it's all about bringing in new mastery. So how can I build new long-term goals, new structures? How can I look at who I am and how I show up, my public image, how I am in my masculine, in that fiery Sagittarius energy, how I am the expert, right? Or how I'm really grounded in my knowing as it relates to my career and my public expression, right? And when it comes to my yes, which is really grounding into this other part of my personality and what I want to balance my human life, then that looks like shifting some structures, shifting some offerings. Maybe in my career, I'm moving away from doing a heavy amount of energy work, and I'm moving into doing different structured containers, or working under a different structure that serves me better, right? So with this Sagittarius new moon energy, I'm looking at my career, my public expression, my relationship with the climb, with the masculine, which with like climbing the ladder and ambition and what that means to me and who I am and what I've discarded this year and what I want to say yes to for next year. So that's the 10th house. For if this new moon is in the 11th house, then it has everything to do with the collective consciousness, with the greater community. At this point, we're expansive. We're looking at humanitarian pursuits. We're looking at like building community, building friendships, making things new in that area of your life. So if you have Sagittarius in the 11th house, like you've got mastery, you're guru energy, you have wisdom, and communities in the world at large on a very humanitarian scale need your expertise and your knowing. So how can you learn more, bring in more mastery there, follow your heart, shoot your arrows, and then how are you bringing light, right? It's that Ophiuchus light bearer energy to your groups, to your communities, to your friends, because for sure you've got a message. You have that placement for a reason. In the 12th house, this is what I call the void. So if the sun or the moon is in the void, it's an extra slowing down period. You are wanting to get really quiet. The 12th house is what I call the channel. It's also a time of endings, where we're letting go, we're finding closure, we're getting quiet, we're really like getting ready to come into a whole new solar year. And you would be aligned if your birthday's in December, the sun's in your 12th house, probably. That's not true. Sorry. That's based on your rising sign. But if the sun is transiting your 12th house, you're very aligned with the cosmic year because you're winding down as the sun is winding down. But basically, you want to get very quiet. You're knowing your mastery. You are the kind of more conventional cosmic channel. And you just have a deep sense of knowing. You might find a lot of love and interest for bringing in new knowledge, esoteric things, maybe even structures like, specific religions or yoga traditions or Buddhism or esoterics might really draw to you because Saturn or Sagittarius loves to have that structure and to learn and to bring in mastery. And the 12th house connects you to meditative states and to devotional realms, right? So if you're in the 12th house, you're slowing down so much more. It's kind of intangible. It's hard to put your finger on it, but give yourself a lot of time to meditate, to get quiet, to journal, to channel, and channeling just means what wants to be seen from within, my intuition, my third eye, what am I feeling in my body, what wisdom is available to me. And just being a channel means just getting that out onto paper or however. First house is about how you take action in the world. So first house in Sagittarius is like literally the adventure. It's like the Indiana Jones of the chart. You're on a mission. You're here to pursue your mastery, shoot your arrows, and then run after them, no matter if people are coming. This is like permission to have fun and to really chase adventure and joy in your life for yourself. So get stoked, fire up the engines. You're in a brand new cycle, and definitely like this might be one where you might want to act. You might feel called to take a trip around this time to expand your horizon and let that really give you an idea of like who you are, your core identity and approach to life. Sagittarius in the second house has so much to do with like your foundational like upbringing, your stability, your security, and your self-worth. So it's important for you to understand that you have mastery, that you are the guru, you are the one that is strong, that knows, and you're meant to resource yourself with that mastery and knowing. And so you might be feeling into like, how have I I feel like I'm feeling into someone specific when I say this. But it must be meant for everyone. Sometimes in this house, your self-worth or your mastery can get quieted or covered up because of the ways that we were raised or conditioned. Sagittarius in the second house is usually like a strong figure that is taking on that position of mastery, and that might cause you to get a little bit like in the shadow of it. And so it's like, how can I let my own stability and security, both when it comes to self-worth, but also like abundance and how you resource yourself and maybe your family, be like resourced by my knowing and my desire for expansion and to learn and to grow and to bring in information and to share and guide with that wisdom. So it's like, it's really becoming multidimensional in a very foundational sense, these first two houses. So you're here to be expansive and to bring that expansiveness to the foundational structures of your family, of your community, of the way you move through your life. Sagittarius in the third house, if your new moon is here, it's all about your mind, how you think and communicate. Another really beautiful expression of Sagittarius because it has that multidimensional self, but it's embedded in the human ego avatar of who you are here. So you're really meant to merge these two worlds. You're the bridge bringing heaven to earth and earth to heaven and sharing that within the expanse of your small community and your neighborhood. Your maybe like adventure to you looks like bringing mastery to people that don't have the expansive perspective you have, and letting them understand that through you, your wisdom, your mind. You're like a walking encyclopedia with a mind as sharp as a whip, right? But it's all about you, like in the third house, your mastery, your wisdom, your like knowing, it translates through the story of who you are. It's not like you're sharing for me, like with that Sag up at the top persona, I'm sharing downloads and codes more as like a conduit a lot of the time. For the person with Sag at the bottom of the chart in the third house, it can't be, it has to come through who you are as a person. You're here to share mastery through the avatar being of like your persona here. So merging those two and maybe seeing in the past, maybe you've disassociated or you've had trouble bringing two together. Maybe there's like issues with, showing up for other people or dimming yourself to accommodate others. But here, you really want to merge and own and expand who you are and bring that multidimensionality to your everyday life. Fourth house, the house of motherhood, nurturing family root system. If you have Sagittarius here, you're really meant to guide your tribe, your people, those that are closest to you in like a new way. You are the guru, you are the master. You just have a deep sense of knowing. And it's with that richness of awareness, multidimensional expansiveness that you're meant to really fortify the root system of your family tree, of your home, for your tribe, for your people. So if you're part of a community, your family, it's like knowing what you know, being who you are. If that fiery Sagittarius energy doesn't shift or merge for anyone, it is the barometer. And the barometer is based on a very strong sense of like, I know who I am, I'm rooted, and I bring richness, I bring expansiveness to this unit that I'm in charge of, right? So feeling into the energies and speaking them and acting on them is also important with this placement. I feel like that's important also for someone specific. It's like if you're the matriarch or the patriarch of your family unit, it's not okay anymore to quiet yourself or to be like a wallflower. You are the matriarch or the patriarch for a reason, and you have to take on that role. Otherwise, you put others in your family that aren't in that position yet or won't ever be in that position in a position of parenting you, whereas you're really meant to be that matriarchal or patriarchal that's always in a more resourced role. Okay. Fifth house, it's the divine masculine. It's where we have fun. We're spontaneous. We play. We follow our heart. We're sexy and flirty and romantic and like also very adventurous and fun. And that Sagittarian energy of like adventure and travel and just, again, following your arrow, fire on fire, masculine on masculine. This could be a placement that could be a little bit too stubborn or too direct in their knowing, just because we're patriarchal and that energy has kind of gone a little bit unchecked. So it's about like tuning into the heart and really aligning your action and your knowing and the way that you guide family also, because this is the house of the father, the divine masculine in the family structure, how you guide from that heart-based place, from how expansive and big and fiery and like outward focus can that which is written on your heart for you and for your family, really, how good can it get? How playful, how big, how joyful, how expansive. And just permission to lean into spontaneity, joy, love. It's following your heart without duty or responsibility, but also without fear of consequences, but also without too much hedonism. It's like striking that perfect balance. Sixth house, so we're almost there. We have 6, 7, 8, and 9. Sixth house, and if you want to fast forward, you can go right to yours. Sixth house is our home routine, our sacred space, health, wellness. It's everything that is like, seeing the background here is it's a glimpse into my sixth house. It's like, okay, what is Alisha, who has this public expression or this, this other expression of her, what does her sacred space look like? How does she organize her life, internal and external, so that she can be a successful human and who she really is? And that also has to do with like organization of the material world around you. It's a mutable earth house. So if you have Sagittarius here, it's all about this is an interesting combination, Sag in the sixth house. It's a very strong energy. There's two mutable houses. Mutable is like the wise one or the elder of the sign. Sag is in their knowing, and Virgos think they know what's best all the time because they really like to have sixth house people really like to have control over their environment, right? The key here is to be very tuned into your inner knowing and to take action on that which supports your own structures and other people's structures in a harmonious way. I feel like that's very nebulous and hard to put your finger on, but basically, like, this would be someone who wants their daily routine to be backed by like science and knowledge, and someone who might be a guru in the health and wellness field, someone that might always be learning new systems or new, health regimens, or it's all about bringing mastery into the everyday life things that allow you to thrive. It's a really cool combo for someone that is here to, how do I put this? Someone that's here to apply their expansive wisdom and their mastery and what they're always learning and seeking to their practical everyday life, to organize their life in a way that matches their expansion. Okay. Seventh house relationships, Sag in relationships, fun, loves to adventure, chasing dreams, shooting the arrows, going out and wanting that partner to be ushered in with, right? So it's a very independent sign mixed with a relational sign. This person probably flows between dependence and independence. And so it's about finding that balance. Like, you are meant to be the leader. You are meant to be the one that's in the know and take charge and be direct and like speak your fire into the world, because that's going to be your love language for the person that you're with, giving that support and that expansive perspective. So not for everyone, but the people that are drawn to you in relationship, you really have wisdom to embed. You have an expanded perspective. You have this multidimensionality that just precedes you and is such a loving gift and love language to the people that are your one-on-one closest relationships. So becoming more confident in that, resourcing yourself in relationships. This might be someone who becomes a really good, like, relational therapist, for example, because they're interested in learning and acquiring wisdom and adding to their mastery in the realm of relating to other people. Could be a psychologist or an astrologer, for example, as well. So that might give you an idea about who you are and how you show up in relationship. And remember, when we show up as our organic selves, our perfect, expression of how this birth chart lives through us, that's when we're the most harmonious in relationships. Eighth house, Sagittarius, where wisdom and knowledge comes to die and be reborn. This is really the archetype of the alchemist or the magician, where more so the alchemist, where you're constantly making new old systems, right? Nothing old is going to last. You're here to transmute. You're here to bring in and learn and embody and maybe act and build, and then allow that to be deconstructed and reborn. So this is like a revolutionary kind of placement, but it's someone who's constantly also going into a dark night of, it's time to shed this skin over and over and over again. And this person might also be seeking a lot, because they are here to really make old systems new. This also has a shaman or a vision quest type energy to it, where the eighth house is going deep, deep, deep into the inner experience, like the depths of the human psyche and journeying within. And then Sagittarius wants to get as much wisdom and knowledge out of that pursuit as possible. So it's very shamanic kind of energy to have this combo there. And it's really like, it's this balance between like how expansive and how much can you let go? How much can you like know without holding so intensely to that structured truth that you aren't able to go through the constant shedding that this eighth house brings? So if you have a new moon here, you might be ready to really release and to come into an even flowier way of structuring your knowing, but at the same time, you might be asked to go even deeper than you've gone before to access that place. Finally, in the ninth house, we have Sagittarius in the Sagittarius house. So at this time, it's all about, what are you interested in? What do you want to fill that plasma potential after going through the shedding of the eighth house with? What new information? What lights you up? What inspires you? You know, the ninth house is bringing in the codes, the wisdom, the knowledge, and in embodying them so that you can go forth into the next houses of mastery and teach and guide and bring that to the masses. So at this time, you might be ready to really like shoot your arrow on something new, to take the trip, to learn, study the book, to take the class, to learn the new thing, in order to be expanding your wisdom. Yeah. And I guess that wraps up, because we've gone all the way around the wheel now, but I just want to say, in general, like what's coming through is because Sagittarius is this expanding your wisdom in all of these areas and really owning who you are, and that you do have that Ophiucan mastery, that light bearer energy in this area of your life. It's more about really trusting that that's true right now than taking action on it. You know, if it's in the ninth house, it's about believing that you're worthy of always chasing a higher truth and making that of pinnacle importance in your life. But that ultimately comes down to self-trust and self-love, because none of us can follow and chase our expansiveness or speak from that place or relate from that place or guide from that place if it's not embodied in us. So this new moon and this time, this galactic center conjunction, it really is 100% about letting, like, settling in to the awareness that you're worthy of expansion, that you are multidimensional, that you have lifetimes and lifetimes of mastery, that even though you think you're not, you are doing it, what you came here to do, all of us. And letting that awareness and that knowing just infuse every single cell in your being. And that's what these cosmic energies are helping with. Is it's like we're just getting bombarded with undeniable multidimensional inspiration and knowing, so that every cell in our body can really become greatness, our own unique individual greatness as it expresses through this avatar. But we're all receiving the same codes. So if you hold someone else who you think is doing better than you in higher regard than you are yourself, then you wouldn't be worthy of receiving the same codes today over this incredible period in this portal that they are, but you are. because we're all receiving the same energy. It's coming from the same source. The difference is that the way that I express this energy will be much different than the way that you do. And that's beautiful. That's the human experience. That's what we're here to do, is to, like, through my unique 3D avatar, Alisha, to share those codes that are coming in for everyone in my unique way. So whatever house or area this is hitting for you, that's your unique way. And that's what you get to feel worthy of saying yes to today and as we move into 2026. If it's true that you are just as masterful as the most masterful person you can think of, and it is. If you're receiving these codes, if you've made it through this very hard year, no, none of us did it perfectly, but if you're here listening, you did. Then allow yourself to really embody and deepen into the self-worth and the knowing and the embodiment of that, and say, if it were all true, which it is, what can I say yes to? How expansive can it get? How much of a leap can I take? What are my yeses for this year? And just know that the wisdom, the knowledge, the data, the downloads, the energy is incoming. There's nothing you have to do except hunker down for the rest of the winter and let it all be revealed. And that's a fun process. At the end of the day, spirituality, awakening your multidimensionality, your gifts, going galactic, it should be fun to sit and go within and be like, interesting, cool, whoa, this happened. Oh my gosh, that's still there. That was intense. It should be fun. Otherwise, don't do it. Okay, I love you. I'm going to leave it at that. Good to be back. If you made it this far, kudos to you. I'll see you in the community. Otherwise, oh my gosh, all my lights just went out. That was crazy. Time for me to go. Bye.